Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast, and this is your host, Catriel. We have a very special guest on today. Her name is Tina Tricoche. How are you, Tina?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
How is your day going?
Oh, my day's going marvelous.
I love it. So I met Tina back in 2018. Actually, we did a session together at Solterra at the time. And I will tell you, things are full circle because I really feel like the one thing that came up in the session I'll share is my root kind of got jacked. And yesterday, guys, I found my root. So yesterday I ended up getting a brand new car, and ironically I've always been drawn to blue, right? Nope. Spirit's like, you're getting a red car. And I will tell you, from the moment I walked up, I was like, oh my God, this is so fitting. I'm talking to Tina tomorrow. So Tina, please tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so I'm involved with quantum practice, quantum energy healing. So I work with healing through the energy field, through the quantum field, and I work in conjunction with the molecular biological field. I also do intuitive practice through automatic writing, and I train people in intuitive development through the intuitive writing, and also through freestanding practice.
Wow, okay, cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the quantum healing? Like, what is your process?
Okay, so, the closer we get to an atom, the less we see, because what it is a vortex of energy spinning very, very, very rapidly. So if you can address any of the illnesses or the distortions at that level, you can create an adjustment virtually anywhere in the body. The body has an amazing ability to heal itself, but humanity was not trained in those understandings. They were trained that you need to take a pill, or you need to go to someone outside of you in order to achieve the results that you're trying to get to. But in reality, those systems are already built within you. It's just a matter of opening up your awareness channels to allow that to flow through you. So what I do is I hover over the body. And rarely will I touch the body. I just hover over it to make an energetic connection with the other person. Let's just call it quantum entanglement, where both our fields are entangling together at the same moment. And then that person's body will notify me of where there is some type of distortion. And so I try to go in at the energetic vibrational level and send an instruction to the molecular system in order for that system to bring about a needed result back into the state of alignment, back into the state of molecular harmony. And in a lot of instances, this will happen pretty quickly. I mean, I've gotten some pretty miraculous results, and sometimes I get reluctant to use the word miracle or miraculous because sometimes that will turn some people off. They automatically think religion, and it turns them off to it. But really, it's just a play on labels. It's a supernatural event that's occurring that everybody's body is built already to do. I'm just a bridge. I'm just another person that facilitates that process until the consciousness of humanity evolves to a level where most people are able to do that for themselves because they have the understanding and they have the awareness that they can practically do that for themselves. But we're just not quite there as a humanity yet. So there are people like me that are rising up, and we're serving as companions to the medical community. You'll see now that they're now allowing Reiki practitioners, and they're even training Reiki practitioners in some of these medical facilities to serve as companions with the healing process. So medicine is going through the conversion as well. And so it's something that I'm very advanced in that I'd prefer that people don't tell me what their issue is. That way they know that I am authentic when I identify what the issue because I'm telling them, because their body is notifying me as opposed to them telling me verbally.
Wow. That's incredible. Like, you know, I did a world of shifts when I did my session with you. And it's been a process, you know. Often I'll come back to that day and I'll still even see more shifts. And I really do believe it all has to do with the shifts of humanity.
Yes.
Like, it's all interwoven.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We are evolving. Our consciousness is evolving us as the one. So as physics has undergone a major change, it's shifted from Newtonian to Einsteinian, and it's still getting ready to birth into another layer here. But medicine is still trying to catch up with that. And so we're seeing the spirituality and the medicine are now emerging once again, as they had a long time ago before the Newtonian divide. Now everything has served a purpose. And, you know, so we don't want to discount the phases that consciousness and humanity have gone through by no stretch of the imagination. But what we need to understand is that we are physical, we are emotional, we are mental, and we are spiritual. So in anything, whether it's in healing, whether it's in transformation, whether it's in manifestation, whether it's this intuitive foresight, all those things occur when we have an alignment with those four planes: the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Did I get them all?
Yes.
Okay.
I was actually in my mind's eye going through, you know, the Kabbalah Tree of Life, because in the Kabbalah Tree of Life we have those four worlds, you know, and the fifth being the absolute, like that. It's not comprehensible to the human mind, you know.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What you mentioned the term Newtonian? I'm not familiar with that term. Can you share that with our audience?
Okay, so Newtonian is the realm of matter, the realm of the real, the realm of the tangible.
Okay.
So when Newton, the scientist Newton, took over, he released all this scientific data. And so from that moment on, science and medicine took the understanding that all there is matter. All there is matter. This is a world of matter, and that's all there is. So everything that is constructed is based off of matter. And Einstein took us beyond that and said, no, actually, everything is energy. Energy creates the matter. So physics now is using other instruments that are more energetic, vibrational, to get to answers and solutions. And medicine is only now really adapting to that. For example, kidney stones, they will use a laser now to crush them and shatter them. That's an Einsteinian level of medicine tool, because that's about energy and vibration to deal with the level of matter. So when I say Einsteinian, it correlates with quantum, because it's about the layer of energy. And there are more layers, but we are at a level of consciousness where we're just now getting to the quantum layer, getting to the quantum understanding, and the fact that we are energy sources. And so there's so much more that we're capable of doing. We just haven't entered into, we're only now entering into the awareness of that, because we have been taught all that matters is matter, and that isn't true.
Right.
But that being said, this is still the realm of reality. This is still the realm of the real. This is still the realm of the tangible, and this is still the realm of matter. So we don't want to discount that, because we are not angels in this role. We're in the human role, the world of the matter. So we don't ever want to discount that as part of our solutions. We don't ever want the world of the imagination to overtake that, because we came here for such a time and for such a purpose. And, the world of the imagination and the world of the angels and the world of non-physical, all of that is very real. It interacts with this one, but they're playing their role, and we're here to create, and we're here to help expand. So we don't ever want to discount the world of the matter. It's an issue of understanding how to put all of it together and not over relying on any one plane.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It took me a while. Wow, I have not jumped into the science side of things in a while. And I remember watching a video about Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
And like how, like it was, I had just watched one in regards to Einstein, then Tesla, and then the differences in between and how like Tesla actually brought in the spiritual component rather than, you know, Einstein. He was looking at like what you said, you know, from his perspective, you know, just more scientific. And this is, you can't discount, you know, what's here, but it's like it's as we're bridging that, you know, and it's so fascinating to look at this from a scientific perspective, because a lot of people kind of are doing either just physical or just spiritual.
Yes, there's been a major divide in humanity in that way. Those that are very, very spiritual and they snub-nose the science. Those that are very scientific and they snub-nose faith and religion and energy and all that. But the reality is, all of it, we are all of it, and all of it is our solution. And you know, you can look at the epigenetic field, because the epigenetic field in the body is a mid lane between the physical and the non-physical. Okay, it receives signals from the environment. It could be something from your food, diet. It could be music. It could be toxins. It could even be a mood, and it could even be your thoughts. Very powerful thoughts, whether they're positive or negative. But it receives signals from the environment, and it will decide what in your genome or your DNA will be activated and what won't be. And it also adds a layer of information to it, and that's what you pass on to your children. Transgenerational inheritance is information that it adds from the recordings of your experiences. Now, that's all epigenetic, and epigenetic is part of your energy field. So now we have scientists that are bold enough to step out and say, okay, we need to look at this from more than just the angle of matter, because epigenetics is not just matter. This whole reality is something we discounted and never really gave much credence to. But we have to now, because if you look at identical twins, they're identical. Their DNA is identical the day of birth, and it's identical when they die, okay, because they're duplicates. But what is dramatically different at the end of their lives as opposed to the beginning, which is identical, is their epigenome. Their epigenome is radically different in most cases, and that's because at some point they undergo different experiences. You know, maybe in childhood they're always together, but at some point they have different relationships. They're exposed to different environments. They go to different careers. So one may end up with cancer and one may not. And so that was the big puzzle. How is these identical twins that are identical with their genetic makeup, how can one get cancer and one not? How can one do this and one can't? And that all goes down to the information that's coming in from the vibrational field, the energy field, the quantum field.
Yeah.
So I like to work, you know, I have an epigenetic psychology group on LinkedIn. It's mainly consists of scientists, molecular biologists, mainly geneticists, some doctors. So most of the people that have been in my group are coming from a scientific viewpoint. I would like for that to change at some point. I would like to see more of the spiritual component added in there. And I think with time, that will happen, because consciousness it's just evolving in consciousness altogether. So people are becoming more receptive to it. Yeah. The scientific community are becoming more receptive to that. But basically, in a nutshell, when I do the quantum healing practice, I'm working with the epigenetic field. It's sending me information through signaling to my receptors. And my receptors will send a deliberate instruction back through your epigenome to your physical layer. And that's where I'm getting the information in. So a lot of the times my hands will be tingling. There'll be a lot of power coming out of it. And that's when I know for certain that that's the area the cosmos wants me to work on. And the more I work with the person, the more I get more specific as to, is this the physical thing I'm working on? Is it the emotional layer? Is it the spiritual layer? Initially, I may not know what layer they want me to do an emphasis on, but the more I work with the person, the more it gets very specific on the layer that they would have me work on.
Wow, that's incredible. Because like I was even thinking about when you gave the example of the twins, you know, yes, in this lifetime, in the physical, their DNA is exactly the same, but that's at the physical layer.
Yes.
You know, you're not even going into the soul layer.
Yes.
Where, you know, they've, you know, had different past lives.
Right.
You know, like you're not even hitting that at all.
Right.
And, you know, I've actually had, I do astrology, and I've had someone ask me, well, how do you differentiate, you know, one chart of a twin, you know, one twin from the other? And I said, well, immediately right off the bat, they're going to actually have different charts because they were not born at the exact same time.
Yes.
So that tiny little difference is saying how unique that individual is.
How interesting. Yes. Yes, but so true. So true. Just those few moments is a radical spiritual imprint, different imprint. Yeah. And speaking of astrology, I was having a conversation with someone recently. One of my birth planets are Mars and Pluto. Okay. So it explains a lot about the stuff that's happened, the radical stuff that's happened in my life, right? I've had a lot of struggle, and in the struggle is where I've developed and birthed a lot of my abilities. And my faith, and moving from faith to state of knowing, it's in when I'm not comfortable, when I'm forced to really tap into my inner being. But we were talking about Pluto, and you know, someone had mentioned that lately Pluto has been so drastic with people that it's been like take away shelter, burn the clothes, leaving people no choice but to move in some area of their life. It could be a physical, it could be a spiritual. It could be relationships. So I just want to encourage people that that phase is now leaving us. But I know that Pluto has been pretty tough on me this last year. It has not been an easy year for me. But I birthed and I have expanded in so many ways. So this last year has been a tremendous gift. But I just want to encourage people because I'm noticing that I was not the only one that was impacted by Pluto in a major way. A lot of people I see have been impacted, and COVID would be a classic example, but not limited to COVID. In other ways, people have been forced to move and get pushed out of their comfort zones. And since you brought up astrology, I just want to throw this out there. That phase is leaving. So just fall back into the state of knowing and the state of self-alignment and hold to the higher vision that you have for yourself. And don't be moved by the circumstantial changes that are happening right now.
Well, it's funny, you go with Pluto, Pluto, Scorpio energy, one and the same. I like to look at the different water signs. You know? For instance, Cancer, I would say, would be more associated with the state of water, like liquid. And, you know, the leading planet is the moon, you know, the waves, the tides. You go into Pisces, it's more of like the etherical, right? So it's vapor. And so when you get into Scorpio, it's ice. Okay. But with ice, you know, it has different layers within it. Yeah. And so when it melts, beautiful things come forth.
Oh, I love that. As you're saying that, I'm just feeling this great energy just flow through me.
Because it's like, it's really weird because with like, one thing I've noticed about Scorpio energy is sometimes I wonder, is it ice or is it fire? Yeah. Because have you ever been outside and it's flipping cold? Okay. It's like, you get so frozen and you can recognize this freezing energy. You go back inside and you feel like you're burning. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this is me in a nutshell. Because the fire transforms. Yes. And it allows for new possibilities.
Ooh, I love that. As you're speaking, I am moved by it. It's so true. It's so deep, but it's so true. Yeah. And for the listeners, you and I both are Scorpios. I don't know that we mentioned that. So.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was like, and then when you walked in, I was just feeling this large Scorpio energy. I'm like, you just can feel a Scorpio when they walk into a room.
Well, I've had a lot. I haven't done any in the last year, mainly due to COVID, but I've had group sessions where people have said that they could feel the heat coming from me. Their body had warmed up and they can feel that warmth coming around them. So I relate to what you're saying with sometimes the ice seems like it should be fire, especially when your birth planets are Pluto and Mars, because that ice is so transformational. It is all about transformation. My whole path has been about transformation. I've been through several transformations, and at the core of what I do for people is transform them. And usually it's at a molecular or it's at a mental level, because until you start changing your thinking, you really can't change your circumstance. So if you can help create a shift in people's mental vibration or their mental channels, it will help them to switch over into a different mode of thinking. But again, that's all about transformation. I recently did a session with someone, and it was emotional healing, and she just erupted out into this very, very deep cleansing cry. And then she said, I can't believe how deep this cry is. I didn't know I needed to cry this deeply. And then she said, I can't believe it. It feels like I'm levitating. I don't know if I'm supposed to be afraid. Like, it feels like I'm levitating. So the other thing is sometimes I feel like I work a lot with the air, because I'm up in the imagination world a lot and in the crown a lot. But yeah, so like the ice can turn into vapor. If you put it in heat, it can turn into vapor. So your perspective was very deep and very, I connected very well with that. Yeah. So what was the fourth one then? You did Cancer, you did Pisces, you did Scorpio. What is the fourth?
So there are 3 water signs. Even though
okay.
I know that, recently I found out that there's a 4th state of like water. I don't know what that is. I've heard of it, but I feel like it would be all of them, together.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, that's just what makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of there's a 4th level here. But I can't think of it. Okay.
But there's something else I would like to share with you.
Okay.
So your gifts align with so much of what what I have been studying in regards to the zodiacs and empath skills.
Okay.
Okay, so I was channeled like this information for zodiac energy for empath skills. Scorpio is the medium empath, which is really interesting to me because I don't necessarily look at medium just as like talking to spirits and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's literally working with other worlds, just as you're doing.
Yes.
And it's so interesting to look at like the zodiac energies from an empath perspective of like we have different types of empaths in the world.
Yes.
And this is, these are specific energetic codes. And yes, we have all of these, different zodiac energies within us. They just appear differently. But how you shine, I feel that's really cool. Like how you work with this particular empath skill,
Yeah, it's it is very fascinating. Even to me, I never lose the magic of it. Just in the same way, I never lose the magic that I live in Florida. I feel we're in a very magical state here.
Yeah.
And I never lose that gratitude, that appreciation, that awe. And so with my abilities, especially this last year, this last year, there was a lot of activity that I wouldn't have purposely have chosen, but I know there was a higher divine reason for it. I felt like there was a lot of dark vibrations that were unleashed on the planet. The veil had become thinner in a lot of regards. So working with trying to understand these darker energies from a different perspective, that was a little bit of a challenge. But as I step back now, and as that has passed and is passing, I realized that that's all part of the expansion, because we have the light and we also have the shadow self. And everything on the planet is about the contrast. We have the plus of the emotional scale, and we have the negative of the emotional scale. We have the protons, we have the electrons. So we have the positive charge and the negative charge. And in order to get the balance, we always have to understand both, because both is what keeps the planet in balance, which means it keeps us in balance too, which is a different perspective, because we always think in terms of everything's supposed to be light, but we have to remember that we're in this planet. We're in the Newtonian world, and so we need the polarity. And as for why all this negative charge was released on the planet recently, it still remains to be revealed. But I think it has a lot to do with the pushing of our expansion, because there has to be the contrast in order to push expansion. Because if everything is hokey dokey, there's no need for expansion, right?
For reals.
There's no need for new creativity. There's no need for yearning and desire and to try new things if everything is just kosher pickle all the time. We don't have to evolve. We don't have to learn new gifts. So. Yeah. So what is your take on this last year? Did you have any experiences, or did you perceive like a negative discharge that was floating on the planet?
It's so interesting, because for me personally, this was a time of really expanding.
Okay.
And so it was almost like I was placed in a bubble of like keep moving, keep expanding, and a lot of positive energy was cultivated during that time. I feel like this year I feel like Spirit's revealing darker energies, but prepared me, to take on larger amounts of energy, so that, when I get to these darker ones, I can be the transformer. I can literally see it as energy, just come to the table is like, this is my light, and this is the light of Hashem. Just be you and allow, and things shift. Like, I've come into several situations, where like it could have definitely been a negative, situation. Like, for instance, with the car. That this is a very small one, but it's all about divine timing, I feel too. I had this like deep, feeling within the pit of my stomach of like, okay, we got a lease. Oh, now I have a restriction on how much I can drive. I didn't realize that at first. And I had taken several road trips. And we got a 4-year lease where I'm only allowed to have 48,000 miles. Interesting. I just literally I am almost at 51,000. Oops. My mom's like, you need to ask some questions. And I heard very clearly from source, like, there will be a time and I will literally just put you in the situation and you will just speak in regards to, this matter. Oh, this is hilarious. And so I trusted, because I could have said something and before my trip, and that probably would have put it to Kaputsky, I probably wouldn't have been on that. But I heard very clearly, trust. Don't ask that question yet. It's not time. When I came in for my oil change on Wednesday, Mercury Day, communication, I'm sitting there. I literally was like, hey, yeah, so I would really like a car wash. Oh, dang it, it's down. I do have another question. So I think I put too many miles on. Can we approach, what my options are here? And I was like, did that just happen? And because, at first I had a little bit of, fear with it, but I did the internal work to shift that, to be like, okay, I'm going to stand in my power and just ask the question, because a lot of times we don't ask questions because of fear.
Yes.
And when we can face it head on, then a solution illuminates.
Yes.
So I asked the question, they said, our solution is that you get a brand new car and that you'll have, probably cheaper payments. And I said, what? and they're like, well, it's interesting that you came in during this time. You get to capitalize on this particular, situation, because this may have not been that way if you would have asked me even a month ago.
Wow.
Or if you were to ask me a month from now.
Divine timing.
I
said, love that.
Whoa. I said, this could have turned out any which way. But when we listen to our instincts, our, that is that seed within us that is birthed from spirit, then magic happens. Like, for reals.
Yes. I love that.
And so, like, it's essentially like you're saying that, that battle between the electron and the proton. There we go. I was like, why can I think? Proton and the electron birthing that neutron.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, whoa.
And that's where the balance is.
And you know what? I've been also really looking into balance as well.
Okay.
And it's like, it's never going to be literally in the middle. Yeah. It's kind of like this walk this way. It's this little dance.
Yeah.
Because if we were in the middle, that's stagnation. That doesn't work.
Right. Right.
But it's us navigating between the 2 points in a harmonious way.
Yes.
Oh, I love energy. Energy speaks, guys. Now you understand why I don't like to pre-plan anything. Because you couldn't plan it. I do have a question, though.
Okay.
What set you on this path? Like, how did you end up here? Like, where did it start for you?
Well, I started really early at the age of reasoning. So I had to have been 5 or 6, or from the time that I had conscious awareness, I had been contacted by angels. And it could be that this happens to most all of us, but we are taught to dismiss that. There may be an element of truth to that statement. But I was never encouraged to dismiss it. I wasn't encouraged by it either. But it was really strong angelic communication where, they were telling me about in former lives, those lives were cut short. And this time I was promised a long one. And this is information that I received at a very, very, very early age, an age where kids are not thinking about mortality. And I was in a Catholic home where we didn't believe, we weren't taught reincarnation. So that's how I know that it was not just my imagination, but it was an authentic channel. And the more that I got these cues that it was an authentic channel, the more I gave credence to it. And I had a really bad episode with my family at the age of 7 or 8 concerning my mother and my father. It was a horrific scene at the home. And I had angels, surrounding me and removing the element of fear from me. So with the removal of the fear and the navigation of my channels, they were popped open. I had channels popped open at that time because it was an extreme family situation. And ever since then, I would say that I've been a practicing intuitive. I don't prefer mediumship. I prefer to just work with entities and angels. Although I am a medium, and I've had experiences with spirits. And if they're going to come through and I call them committee, my spiritual committee allows it, I will have commune with them, and I will serve as an intermediate. But there are many intuitive channels, as you mentioned earlier in this podcast. And so some of us develop certain ones and we don't develop others. I think if we focus more on certain ones, we get better at it. If we try to develop all of them, we can only go so far with them. And I think sometimes people try to develop all of them, and so they can only go so far. It's just like any talent. If you're trying to learn art and you're trying to learn an instrument and you're trying to learn gymnastics, if you're trying to learn a bunch of stuff, you can never really ever get really, really good in any of it unless you got a genetic inheritance. You're only going to go so far. But if you devote to developing one thing, you can get really, really, really good at it. So I would never put myself out there as a medium. But when it happens, it happens. It's a divine appointment. But yeah, I mainly work with angels, and I work with alternate forms of consciousness, and only because when I was that 7-year-old and there was that horrific incident that happened in the family where I had to rely on them. And then there's been other points in my life where I had to rely on them. Then I realized this isn't just imagination. This is major. This is a major connection. I have a major gift, and it's meant to be used for humanity. And then I would say around 2009 was when I started working with other people. I broke out of the shell or out of the closet because I did start out as a religious person, and these were not things that you really talked about if you were in a traditional Orthodox Christian environment where they frown upon intuitive practice and they frown upon the other religions. So I kept a lot of that to myself. But I bridged out around 2009 when I moved to this Tampa Bay area, and I found that there were so many people like me with my ability. There was a whole world open up to me that I didn't even know existed. And the more I started working with people, when they would come back like a year later and say, "Wow, you were so accurate, and I thought you were way off." But you weren't way off. You were right on point. And I still have your paper, or I still remember you, and those are the people that help build my confidence, so that when I'm faced with someone that's frowning upon what I have to say or disagreeing or is not fully receptive to it, or who wants you to doubt yourself, now they don't know, people no longer have that power to give me the doubt, because I understand, one, I'm not perfect. Two, if someone's with me, it's for some type of divine reason, and it's only going to go as far as they're receptive. They have to be receptive. And three, I know that my channel is radically authentic. I know that I don't have to try and prove it. I don't need 1 million clients. I don't need a lot of clients. Just give me the handful that I'm meant to help, and I'm whole and complete in that. So I would say since the age of reason. And I had the points where I had to rely on my channel, and it was very accurate, and they got me out of it, but I was receptive to them. And then I started working with other people around 2009. And now I have a vision of opening up a center. And this has been a very powerful vision I've had. And this last year, with everything that's happened, I felt like my health was assaulted, my spirit was assaulted. I felt like Mars and Pluto was just coming at me from every angle this last year, but I never lost my state of knowing in my connection with my source, that pure light source. And I never lost the vision of what it is I'm called to do in the direction they're moving me in. All this stuff last year is just stuff that has made my abilities even better by far. I expanded. I took like a quantum leap in certain areas, but I never shook on this vision of the center where it's going to serve as a companion to the medical community. Okay, because we can't eliminate the medical community, because that's all part of the Newtonian composite. So we need them just as much as they need us. There is no us against them. That's a fallacy of reasoning. But it will serve as a companion to what they're doing, and it will make what they're doing more effective. And people will, hopefully, people will rely less on external sources, whether it be another person or medication, and start relying a little bit more on opening up those innate channels within that will push the healing out. And I also want to train people in intuitive practices, not tarot. Tarot is just not my thing. I know that's for a lot of people it is, but it would be more of intuitive writing, freestanding, and life mentorship. So it'd be training, healing, teaching, and offering some intuitive sessions and some healing sessions. So it's a conglomerate vision that I have, but I feel more confident now more than ever that I'm going to establish this like my ancestor did. He established a healing facility in Puerto Rico at a time of famine and disease in the 1800s. And he made the history books. Valentine Tricoche. But he met with a lot of opposition. He came from Spain, and he met with a lot of opposition because nobody wanted to care about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is kind of forgotten now, but if you can imagine what it was back then, and people try to discourage him, and so he put up a lot of his own capital to make things happen. But he had that healer's heart, and he was innovative for his time. He developed a water-based system there in Puerto Rico. That made the history books. This is stuff you can look up. But the thing is, he had the vision, he had the heart, and then he carried the vision, he carried the heart, and then he took action. And so I feel like that vibration was like he passed the torch on to me and saying, you're going to do something similar but relevant to this stage of consciousness development and for what the need is here. So I'm very excited for what I'm going to do vibrationally with my hands, and I'm very excited about how I'm going to help develop people with their intuitive practice, and I'm very excited about how I'm going to help people to bust out of these spinning vortexes that get them nowhere. It's just a continual dead end that doesn't get them anywhere, and you can't be distracted by how the life circumstance is. You got to be able to keep your joy and your vision and stay aligned no matter what is happening around you. And if you have that, you have everything. If you have the gratitude for what is right, what is good, you have everything. It's in the gratitude. And gratitude is it's a skill, the way things have been on this planet the last 20, 30 years, developing that ever-going state of gratitude. It's a process, it's a practice. We don't just get there once and stay there. You have to keep practicing it. But the more you do, like building your muscles, it's easier and easier and easier and easier. And once you get there, you have everything. You will always have everything.
Yeah. For me, I've been really cultivating the practice of gratitude. It's always, with a prayer over my food,
Okay.
Like taking that moment, whether it be energetically putting my hands over it or saying a Hebrew prayer or saying an English prayer, something.
I love that.
And it's a daily reminder. And because sometimes what I've often seen myself do is I'll take a first bite and I'll be like, I guess I'm tasting the food for you, God.
I love that. Just by you saying that, I just feel the vibrational shift. It's such a lovely. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. It's actually a very profound thing to do. Yeah, it's very profound. The only things you just got to make sure every once in a while you shake yourself up so that it's not just a habitual practice that you don't put any thought in, like any feeling into. But yeah, that's very profound. Just a little bit of gratitude can shift your vibration and your day and impact somebody else, like a smile or a thank you or complimenting someone. That little act can literally shift their vibration in such a larger way than you can imagine. Many years ago, I want to say around 2005 to 2009, before I started really practicing as an intuitive, help working with other people, I had this deep, I don't even want to call it depression. It was like darkness. It was like despair. And it started happening at the molecular level. It was like a biological thing, and I just couldn't get out of the pit. Nothing I did, I just could not get out of this pit. I try to stay away from people because I was like, oh my goodness, come in contact with other people, they're going to go right down with you. That negative vibration, they're just going to go down with you. And so that was something that was part of my process of developing my inner channel, developing my innate abilities to heal. Because if you can't heal yourself, you certainly can't heal others. That's just the bottom line. You got to be able to begin with yourself, and know you can authentically do that in order to, because everyone says they could heal nowadays, but it depends on what level and what layer you're at. But one of the things that I did that cracked that code, that nasty code, and got me out of the pit was at some point I started looking in the mirror every morning and before I'm going to bed, and I'd say, I love you. And you know, in the beginning, I didn't really feel it because I'd be like dark despair, and I had this really deep baggage under my eyes, and I was extremely overweight, and you know, I did not feel desirable. And I would say, I love you, and then it turned into, you're beautiful, you're sexy, I love you just the way you are, you know. And then I started feeling it. And then I started getting some joy from it. And that joy was enough. It didn't matter if no one else loved me. I was just like, hey, I have the power to love myself, right? I don't have to worry that this person doesn't treat me right, or this person doesn't love me, or, you know, I'm this forgotten person, and, you know, and all this negative nanny stuff that was always consuming me. Those little things, I love you, and you're beautiful, and you're sexy, you know, and even though in the back of my head, I'm like, you're not, but then eventually I started feeling like you are. Like I started getting that feeling. And before you knew it, I started making changes. Like I started drinking more water. I started going out for walks in the park, which I never did. I started taking Omega 369, this plant formula. I started making these simple changes, but these things all happened after I started communicating with myself in the mirror. And I would fake it until I make it, you know, until I started feeling a vibrational shift. You know, it's a process. We have to love ourselves through these processes and give it time. But that those little steps turn into another step, and then it turned into life changing and life changing and life changing. And then before I knew it, I was dating all the time. Because apparently the guys thought I was cute too, because I was so busy believing I was cute, and I was believing I was sexy, and I was believing I was pretty, and I was believing I was a lovable person, you know. But so apparently as I started exuding that, I started dating a lot, you know. And then when I started dating a lot, then my vibration really lifted. For if nothing else, I felt, wow, I guess I really am desirable. I guess I really am pretty now, you know? And the bags went away from under my eyes, and my mood lifted. And I don't know when it happened, but I got out of that pit. And I don't even think it's possible for me to go back in it now, because I work so much with energy. And the more you help other people, you are lifting yourself up. That's the bottom line. You help. It doesn't matter what way. If you find ways to help other people in and through the best of you, you earn that back. It comes back to you. So I at this point, I don't, with all the stuff that's happened to me, I don't believe it's biologically, mentally, spiritually possible for me to ever go back in that pit that I came out of. So, but because of the pit, I can appreciate where I'm at now, because I understand the contrast. I know what it's like when someone's down there. So I can have empathy for them. And I know that that's not easy, especially if it's happening at a molecular level. But it didn't take medication to get me out of that. It didn't take a psychiatrist to get me out of that. What it took was your simple, thank you for my food. For me, it was, I love you. You know, I love you. You're beautiful. I love you. Those little acts that we give to ourselves and the cosmos is so profound and so powerful if we give it that vibration. That's the trick. Yeah. You got to give it the gift of the vibration to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
Like I'm on Facebook and I see what is the name of the community again?
Oh, Circle of Tampa Bay.
Thank you, Circle of Tampa Bay. I'll see all the different posts on there and everything like that, and you've really been an incredible facilitator of healing, you know?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I love your vibration. Just by being here with you, I feel this warmth and this beauty. And I hope that they and I'm sure they can, that it's resonating through this podcast, that they can feel what I'm feeling right now. You're just such a lovely being.
Thank you. Takes one to know one. And that's for you listeners as well, you know? You guys are truly beautiful, and when you just allow yourself to just breathe in that beauty, that's all that matters, you know?
Yes.
I thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. What a joy.
What
a privilege and an honor.
It's such an amazing conversation and well needed. And God, and I thank you viewers, or more so listeners. Can't really see me. I'm giving blessings to all on this day. And I thank you all, divine, beautiful souls. This is your host, Catriel, with Energy Speaks, over and out.